The fluorescent lights in the briefing room hummed quietly, echoing off steel walls that smelled faintly of gun oil and salt. The Navy SEALs, men carved from muscle and discipline, lounged in their seats with practiced confidence. Every one of them had seen combat. Every one bore scars that told silent stories, and every one of them was staring at the young woman standing at the front of the room as if she'd wandered into the wrong universe. Her name was Lieutenant Sarah Kane, but they called her the Claim. It wasn't an official nickname, just one whispered through the ranks. She had come in claiming to have completed an unverified mission, something that, if true, should have made her a legend. But the Pentagon had no record. The file she referenced was classified above even their pay grade, and the men around her didn't believe a word. "Ma'am," said Chief Petty Officer Riker with a grin that didn't reach his eyes, "no disrespect, but this is a SEAL task force. We're not here to play dress-up." A few chuckles rippled through the room. Sarah stood still, her face unreadable. Her green eyes, steady and calm, moved from man to man, not with anger, but with the kind of stillness that comes from experience most people can't name. "I'm aware," she said. Her voice carried no tremor. "That's why I'm here." The commander, Captain Ortega, cleared his throat. "Gentlemen, that's enough." Lieutenant Kane was assigned by the Joint Special Operations Command. "Her file checks out." "Barely," Riker muttered under his breath, earning a few more snickers. Ortega shot him a glare. "She'll be leading the recon phase of Operation Ember Tide. You'll treat her with respect." That silenced the room for a moment, but only just. Sarah nodded, opened a laptop, and projected satellite images on the wall. "This," she said, pointing to a stretch of jungle terrain, "is a fortified compound outside Palawan Island, Philippines. Intelligence suggests a rogue unit of arms smugglers operating under execution contracts. They've kidnapped 2 U.S. contractors. Your job is extraction. Mine is to get you in and out unseen." "You're the infiltration expert?" one of the younger SEALs asked, a little incredulous. Sarah only smiled faintly. "Something like that," she went on, briefing them with precision, detailing routes, wind conditions, heat maps, the kind of intel that normally took months to piece together. By the time she was done, even Ortega looked impressed. Still, the doubt lingered in the air. When the meeting ended, Riker followed her out. "You know," he said, falling into step beside her, "you don't have to keep up the act with us. If you've never been in the field, it's fine. No shame in intel work." Sarah stopped and turned. "You think I've never seen the field?" "I think," Riker said, smirking, "that if you had, you'd have scars to show for it." She stared at him for a long moment. "I have my scars," she said quietly. Then she walked away. The mission began 3 nights later. Rain hammered the jungle canopy as the SEALs prepared to move. The air was thick with humidity and tension. Sarah was dressed the same as them: a night camo, sidearm, combat knife, and a small backpack. "Last chance to back out, Lieutenant," Riker said, half joking as he checked his gear. "This isn't a training op." She glanced at him. Neither was Sierra Echo 12. He frowned. "What's that?" She didn't answer. She was already moving. The insertion went by the book, a silent chopper drop at 020 hours. 5 clicks from target. They hiked through mud and tangled vines, their movements ghost-like. Sarah took point without hesitation, cutting paths, avoiding motion sensors the others hadn't even noticed. "Where'd she learn that?" whispered Alvarez, one of the younger SEALs. Riker didn't answer this time. His earlier arrogance was fading, replaced by something that felt uncomfortably like respect. By 0315, they reached a ridge overlooking the compound. Guards patrolled the perimeter. A small satellite dish glowed faintly in the rain. Sarah crouched low and surveyed the scene through her night vision scope. 3 on the north wall, 2 by the generator. Patrol cycles every 70 seconds. "Your window is 11. How the hell do you know that?" Ortega asked over comms. "Because they trained under the same manual I did," she said. And again, nobody asked questions. The infiltration went perfectly until the extraction. They had the hostages in hand, moving toward exfil, when one of the guards stumbled onto their path. A single shout cracked the night open like thunder. Gunfire followed. The jungle erupted. Bullets hissed through the leaves, grenades exploded, and shouts echoed in multiple languages. The SEALs moved like clockwork, returning fire, pulling the hostages toward the rendezvous point, but Sarah didn't follow. She turned the other way. "What the hell are you doing, Kane?" Riker barked over comms. "Cutting them off," she said simply. She moved through the trees like smoke, silent and deadly. One by one, the enemy lights winked out. The radio chatter went frantic. By the time Riker caught up, she was kneeling over a downed mercenary, wiping her knife on his vest. "Jesus," he muttered. "You move like a ghost." "Old habits," she said. They made it to extraction with seconds to spare. The helicopter lifted off just as another explosion rocked the jungle below. When they touched down on the carrier deck, everyone was alive, including the hostages. Ortega congratulated the team, but all eyes were on Sarah, even the skeptical ones. That night, in the mess hall, the mood was different. Laughter came easier. The mockery was gone. Sarah sat quietly at a corner table, sipping coffee. When Riker approached again, he hesitated before sitting. "Hell of a job out there," he said finally. "Thanks," she replied, not looking up. "I owe you an apology," he added. "Guess I was wrong." She gave a small smile. "Guess you were." There was a pause. Then Riker said, "You mentioned Sierra Echo 12 before." "I looked it up. There's no record of any mission by that name." "There wouldn't be," she said softly. Riker frowned. "So what was it?" Sarah leaned back. "A ghost top, blacker than black. Off the books, off the record." "Who were you with?" She hesitated, then looked him straight in the eye. "Task Force Phoenix." Riker blinked. "That's a myth." She smiled faintly. "That's what they want you to think." Before he could reply, Ortega's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, report to deck briefing in 10. Sarah stood. "Another time, Chief." The next mission came sooner than expected. A distress signal had come from a downed reconnaissance drone near the Burmese border. They needed to secure it before hostile forces did. The terrain was brutal, mountains wrapped in mist, riddled with hidden caves. The SEALs moved in under cover of darkness, but an ambush met them halfway. Explosions lit the night. 2 men went down before they could return fire. Sarah took command instantly. "Fall back to ridge line. Move on my mark." She led them through enemy fire, cutting through the chaos with surgical precision. When they regrouped, Riker stared at her in disbelief. "How the hell did you "I've fought these guys before," she said. "They copy tactics, not strategy." When they finally secured the drone and called for evac, Sarah was limping, blood seeping through her sleeve. She waved off Riker's concern. "It's just a graze." But back at base, when she peeled off her combat shirt, the men who saw her froze, because there, across her upper back, was a tattoo, a faded but unmistakable, a phoenix, wings spread wide, wrapped around a trident. Every SEAL in the room recognized it instantly. It was the mark of Task Force Phoenix, a covert unit rumored to have been disbanded years ago after a classified mission went catastrophically wrong. Only 3 people had ever been confirmed to wear that insignia. 2 were dead. The third had vanished. Riker swallowed hard. "You're her," he whispered. Sarah didn't look at him. "I was." "What happened to the mission?" She didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, "We were sent to intercept a rogue nuclear payload in eastern Syria. We succeeded, but not all of us made it out. The government buried the op to avoid political fallout. They erased our records. We became ghosts." She glanced over her shoulder, her expression unreadable. "You want proof of my claim?" "That's it." No one spoke, not Riker, not Ortega, not any of them. For the first time, the elite men of SEAL Team 7 stood not out of protocol, but out of respect. Sarah adjusted her shirt, wincing slightly at the movement. "You don't salute ghosts," she said quietly. "Maybe not," Riker said, his voice steady now, "but we damn well honor them." He extended his hand. She took it. Over the next months, Sarah became one of them, not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. Her leadership in the field saved lives. Her instincts were sharper than radar. Even the hardened veterans found themselves deferring to her calls. Still, the tattoo, that symbol of the Phoenix, became something of a legend within the unit. Men who once mocked her now touched their trident patches before missions, murmuring, "For the Phoenix." Then one night, an encrypted message came through the base. It bore no insignia, no sender, just a code ASE-12A and coordinates deep in the Pacific. Sarah stared at it for a long time before closing the terminal. Riker found her the next morning, already packed. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "There's something I need to finish," she said. "Need backup?" She shook her head. "This one's mine." Riker hesitated, then nodded. "We'll be here when you get back." She smiled faintly. "That's the thing about ghosts, Chief. We don't come back, we rise." And with that, she walked down the pier and boarded a small black transport craft waiting in the mist. No one ever saw her again. Weeks later, a secure transmission reached SEAL Command. A single image, the same Phoenix and Trident symbol, freshly burned into rock beside a destroyed weapons cache in the Pacific. No signature, no message, just a silent reminder that sometimes, legends don't die, they vanish into myth. And among the SEALs who once mocked her claim, none ever forgot the woman whose back bore the mark that made warriors stand in respect. Lieutenant Sarah Kane, the ghost of Task Force Phoenix, the one who rose from fire and disappeared into it again.